Welcome and thanks for joining us. My guest today is Eileen Vadrine. She's the Chief Data Officer for the Department of the Air Force. And Ms. Vadrine, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for including me today. I really appreciate it.
I think one of the first things I wanted to ask you is how your position is really a very new one. It's one that really acknowledges the way technology is moving within the Defense Department. So how are you leveraging it and how are you working this new position as it's kind of taking shape?
Well, Scott, I like to tell folks that we're pretty early on our data journey in the Department of the Air Force, which today is two military services, air and space forces. And I think it's a very exciting time to be here. But we started our journey in 2017. And when we started in 2017, this office was established with a group of amazing citizen airmen who took a break from industry to come back on active duty and bring new capabilities into our department. And I think that really makes our journey really unique and special because we are taking their work and really moving it forward. I would also like to say that it's pretty exciting because we just don't work inside our Department of the Air Force. We work with our colleagues across the Department of Defense. So I work with Tom Cicela, the CDO at Department of Navy, and Dave Markowitz, the CDO and Chief Data and Analytics Officer at the Department of Army, and with the DoD CDO, Mr. David Spurk. And together, we're working together as a big enterprise. And I think that really makes it special. Earlier this year, or late in 2020, specifically, the DoD published a DoD data strategy. And that data strategy was co-written by my peers across the military departments. So it's in the Department of the Air Force, it's two services working in concert with each other and working with our colleagues across the other military services. And I think that is a very unique perspective as we really try to drive data insights across our Department of the Air Force. So I think for me, it's that change management is just really, it's an exciting time to be here. And I always say that it's an honor to serve this group of airmen and guardians because they are truly making this work happen.
Now, 15, 20, 50 years ago, data was something that maybe lawmakers and DoD policymakers weren't exactly keeping in mind. And so now you're trying to have to trailblaze your way through with policies of your own to make sure that data works in the right direction for you. Is that something that you're still working on right now and something that you're working closely with lawmakers on?
Well, for me, I focus on the mission in the Department of the Air Force. I partner with my colleagues that really shape and inform the work that's being done on Capitol Hill. And that's why I like to say data is a team sport, because it's not just one person or one group. It's us working holistically on that transformational change. And so it's exciting because it is really that collaborative synergy makes anything possible.
Now, one of the big things for the future is the Joint All-Domain Command and Control. That is a operational program that will definitely be using the cloud and be using a lot of data. So how are you linking these environments? How is the Air Force working with the other services, and how is the Air Force using the cloud to leverage the new parts of JADC2?
Well, earlier I talked about the DoD data strategy, which is really 8 guiding principles, 4 essential capabilities, and 7 strategic goals: visible, accessible, understandable, linked, trustworthy, interoperable, and secure data. I know that seems like a lot, but that's really our roadmap for not just the Department of the Air Force, but working across all of the services. So that is my piece. Later this year, the Department of the Air Force will actually publish our data implementation plan that will operationalize for our department that capability, because joint domain, all domain command and control, thank you, capabilities is really about just getting the right data in the right place at the right time. Really that speed of relevancy for data, and that implementation plan will be our driving force to really make the DoD data strategy operationalized so that each and every airman and guardian know what the roadmap is, and we can all be working together to drive that change. And our colleagues across other services will have their own roadmaps, and we synchronize those roadmaps. So I'm really grateful for the positive working relationship I have with my colleagues at Army and Department of Navy, so that we're actually making sure that we together are working on the right information at the right time, at the right place, at that speed of relevancy moving forward.
And I'd assume that in order to make that environment work the best that it can, that it needs to have a cloud that works well and one that can be, as you said, interoperable, right?
Absolutely. So very early in the journey of my organization is we built the Vault data platform, multi-tenancy cross-domain solution that we have the capability to share data, not just across our department, but in the Air Force with air and space, but also with our strategic partners and our services. So it's really about us working together, and cloud is a critical component of that solution. So it's really about making sure that we have that capability, and it has matured. I also would like to say that it's been game changing for us as we've had to pivot from the majority of our work in the building to a lot of the work outside of the building. So when we had to really be creative in how we make the mission happen in a remote environment once COVID hit, that Vault data platform was in the cloud was enabled us to optimize performance as we had to shift to alternate work locations. So that flexibility and agility of the cloud being able to conveniently and easily share is game changing as we move forward.
I wanted to pivot a little bit toward data. Uh, all of your sensors and different operational systems and everything you can think of are collecting data all the time. It sometimes can be overwhelming. How are you trying to organize data so that it can work best for the Air Force?
Well, it's a multi-prong approach. The first one is visible, accessible data. And the first piece of that is having a Department of the Air Force data catalog, which we started that journey last year, and we are continuing to mature it this over the next few months because in the Internet of Things environment, the volume of data that's being generated on a daily basis, you have to be deliberate and intentional in terms of having a very deliberate way to collect that and catalog it so that you know where it is, when it is, and how to get access to it. Another piece to that is really investing in our people. And so from a governance perspective, we now have data officers in our major commands and our field activities, as well as our core functional areas. So there is an expert in each organization that can actually be that change agent, or what I would call boots on the ground, to really begin that process, to really have mature governance of data moving forward.
Is this a Sisyphean task at times? I mean, you're taking in petabytes of information, and you only have a certain amount of resources. I'm sure that AI can help as well. But is it something that you can finally get your arms around?
Well, yes, but it has to be a very deliberate role. Not all data is equal. I have a small data lab based out of Andrews Air Force Base where we look at enterprise level data opportunities to really drive insights. And those use cases, we keep seeing certain data sets that are high value to our enterprise. And so that helps us identify where we should make the strong investments early on to mature where we're going to get the biggest return on investment so that we can optimize performance and really be good stewards of the US taxpayer dollars.
I think that's a perfect segue into what I wanted to ask next, which is how does the Air Force need to invest for its future for cloud and also for data? I know that those go hand in hand as well.
Well, I like to say mission first, people always, and really it's about investing in our workforce because they are going to be the catalyst for our future in terms of how we drive change. And so we've made some very deliberate investments at all levels, not just bringing in great talent through intern programs and really cultivating talent, but just this year our Air Force Academy actually deployed a data science and both major and minor. That's going to be game changing for our workforce because those cadets, when they get commissioned and join our active duty roles, they're going to go into all mission sets, whether it's logistics, intelligence, space, etc. That's going to create a new pipeline of high end talent that is just going to give us velocity, but we're also investing in other ways. We partner with our CIO, Ms. Lauren Knausenberger, with Digital University to bring in high-end, just-in-time, self-paced capabilities so that our airmen and our guardians can continue to upskill on their own. It's really about building data acumen. We are at a very, I think, unique point where we have our airmen that are coming in are digital. And I would like to say data is how they've grown up. And I would like, we're really driving so that data is part of every airman and guardian's core DNA moving forward so that we can use data both at the tactical, operational, and strategic level. And so that really investing in your workforce is going to be one of the best investments I believe that we can make moving forward.
Defense Innovation Board Chairman Eric Schmidt told Congress that that really the military as a whole should invest in and give people the freedom to kind of do weird things, to allow that woman in the basement of her house working on weird logarithms and that sort of stuff to have the ability to do that. How is the Air Force giving the freedom to its data operators and its innovative people to continue to be innovative within the constraints of the military, which isn't necessarily always the freest place to be when you're doing a workforce sort of situation?
Well, I come back to that Vault data platform. Okay. Any airman or guardian in our department can get access to that platform in a matter of hours because it's built as infrastructure as code. So we can onboard new tenants and new capabilities very quickly. We built it on open source tools initially because I can give open source tools to everybody in our workforce. But we also recognize that certain individuals were going to want commercial off-the-shelf products. So we built in the capability to what I call bring your own tool and really partnering with our AQ colleagues to see how we can make that go faster. So just last quarter, we had an example where we partnered with our acquisition workforce to work the security process as we were working the acquisition process. So when the contract was completed on a Friday afternoon, the security piece was already done. So we pushed the update over the weekend and people came to work literally on Sunday and could actually use new capabilities on the platform. I think that speed of relevancy and speed of mission is really game changing for us.
Yeah, and it sounds like people are excited to use it as well too. I wanted to ask you about working with industry. They're obviously a second part of this, or if not a third part of this. And how are you working with them to harness innovation for data and for the cloud as well?
Well, the first thing that I would say is one of the first documents that we did in our journey was building and publishing a data service reference architecture. And that document was a publicly releasable document available on af.mil so that we could share it with not just our industry partners, but our academic partners. And that gave them the framework of where we were building from so that they knew where we were going from the very beginning. Today, we're working on an update to that document so that we can, as our technologies are emerging, we can actually share where our updated vision is going, because I think that it's really about making sure that we're holistic, and it's bringing our industry partners along, but also bringing our academic partners along. The Air Force has an amazing partnership where we have airmen today at an artificial intelligence accelerator at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. So we have airmen working side by side with some of the smartest people working some of the AI opportunities. And I also think that also embraces that innovation culture that really accelerates the opportunity to be forward leaning and really build updated emerging technologies into the baseline capability.
Are you working with any of the innovation and accelerating shops that the Defense Department has set up? Let's say the DIU or AFWorks. Are they helpful in for you at all?
We absolutely work with the innovation change agents across our department. I would like to say that some of the capabilities that are in the Vault data platform today came out of one of the multi-domain operations challenges that was done by our AFWorks capability, but the partnerships don't stop there. We partner with both the MIT AI Accelerator and AFWorks for the first datathon that we did. We literally brought over 200 airmen together virtually to take a problem, which was the C-17 puck scheduler problem set. And within a matter of 3 days, we were able to crowdsource a solution that optimized scheduling with a 92% accuracy rate. And then we were able to take all of the solutions and send it back to the MIT AI Accelerator so that they could continue to perfect the problem set and actually increase the accuracy rate. And later this month, we will actually launch our next datathon, which partnering with our AFWorks Innovation Cell. And that one is really about data quality, because we know that in order to get to artificial intelligence and machine learning at the speed of relevancy, we need high volumes of high quality data. So we want to crowdsource using our really smart airmen and guardians to really improve the quality of our data. And we're doing that in partnership with AFWorks on our cloud platform.
And what about things like the Joint Artificial Intelligence Center? I feel like you have very similar goals with them in harnessing data, making sure that data has the right kind of home to go to where it can be used correctly. Have you worked with them at all and their joint common foundation?
Um, there, we are still, really early on the AI journey,
Yeah.
but we are constantly doing outreach to our colleagues across the entire department, including the JAIC. And that is one of the reasons why we set up this outreach capability called Innovation Connect, where once a month we bring in various people from not just the Department of the Air Force, but our colleagues in the other services to share great lessons learned. So, and we do that in a virtual form approximately once a month. Just last week, Tom Cicela, Dave Marquitz, and I literally did a session where we answered questions together as MILDEP CDOs, military departments, chief data officers, and answered our workforce's questions. And it was really the catalyst for the next problem sets that we're going to solve together, which is pretty exciting.
Well, it sounds like you have a lot of things that you're working on. When it comes to challenges, things that the Defense Department and the Air Force themselves may need to work on to help make data get to where it needs to be, to help JADC2 get to where it needs to be. Where do you see those biggest challenges?
I think that the first step is we're working very hard to get the data foundation built correctly so that we meet those strategic goals in our DoD data strategy. They are real, it's visible, accessible, easy to use, trustworthy, interoperable, secure. That capability is the core foundation, and that will give us the velocity to leverage AI and machine learning moving forward. So getting that foundational component is really very important to my team moving forward. Every day they come in and think about, how can we do this smarter? How can we make sure that we're leveraging the data and the technology together so that we can really allow our airmen and our guardians to really use their time on the hardest problems possible. Where can we automate, to use machine learning to process stuff at a lower level so that we can really use our smart air and space professionals for where they can bring the most value to our department.
Do you find that the allocations and the funding from Congress and from the Air Force and Defense Department reflect the goals and the challenges that you face at this point and may continue to grow in that way?
Um, what I what I challenge my team to do is make sure that every resource we're investing, we're doing it smartly, that we're looking at return on investment and really always looking at how you scale it out. And so it's maximizing the resources that you have is critical.
And I'm sure that you're definitely having return on investments as well. I mean, data is finding lots of ways to save money from things as small as uh, um, taxiing airplanes and turning off engines at certain times, and really looking at how money's spent too, right?
But it's also about how we use our airmen's time and maximizing performance. So it's really about that partnership between leveraging those insights, not just to drive savings, but to really optimize performance, both on the resource and the personnel side.
So, as we've been talking about this whole time, you've really been laying the groundwork for the Air Force to be able to use data in a more effective way. Where do you see these things sort of paying off down the road, maybe in a couple years and maybe a decade or so? What might we be able to do and accomplish with the data that we have and with the weapons that we have?
Well, the I would like to say that we are already starting to see um, data drive insights and seeing return on investments. The one that I always highlight, which is not a military example, but our installation management group is using data to drive really deliberate insights to optimize facilities. So we have Air Force daycare facilities, and to be able to use the data to drive how to optimize those facilities to reduce wait times, but also to make sure our airmen and guardians have the facilities that they need to support their families is game changing. And that type of effort, it's happening now. So it's really about leveraging data and taking small use cases that have enterprise level impact and then scaling them out, starting small and growing. And so we're starting to, over the last 2 years, we've done about several dozen enterprise focused use cases out of our lab at Andrews Air Force Base, partnering with people in the field to really help them use data to drive insight on some of their toughest challenges, and use it as an opportunity to inform using data that decision making process. And that's happening now, and I'm just excited about the potential where it's going. It's start small and scale to that last mile. So we're starting to see that investment show that return on investment and really provide new opportunities for us to drive insight through the use of data.
And what about the future of your position as CDO? How do you see that changing as this starts to really congeal?
Well, I'm just really excited that the Air Force made a very deliberate investment in having a data leader. And again, I am honored to serve in that role because the airmen and guardians that are doing this work, they are really changing the landscape of how we work. And so it's a deliberate investment, but it's also about us working across our departments. So I go back to making sure that I'm building those partnerships with change agents across our Department of the Air Force so that together we're working holistically to really drive and optimize performance, making sure that I'm working with my colleagues, not just across our different services, but we also have opportunities through the Federal CDO Council to actually share lessons learned with other CDOs across the federal space. And I think that is also an amazing opportunity to leverage great work that's being done across the entire platform and bring that capability back into the Air Force. And so it's really us working together. And I just believe those opportunities are going to continue to grow because we're seeing the return on investment and we will continue to see the return on investment.
Well, Ms. Vadrine, this has been a really interesting and fun conversation. Any parting comments that you'd like to leave with us?
Well, I thank you for your time today. I think that this is really, we're early in the journey, but we're on the journey where data is going to be the core element of every airman and guardian's core DNA. It's going to be how we do business on a daily basis. And I know that we are going to be at a point very soon where we won't be talking data specifically because it's just part of how we do business on a daily basis. And that I think is really exciting.
I'd like to thank our guest today, Eileen Vadrine, the Chief Data Officer for the Department of the Air Force. I'm your moderator, Scott Massioni, and you're listening to Federal News Network. Now let me send you back to the studio for more with the DoD Cloud Exchange.